तद्वै धनुस्तैषवः सरथो हयास्ते सोऽहं रथे नृपतयो यथा नमन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूत् असदीशरिक्तम् भस्मन् हतं कुहकराद्धं निवोक्तं युष्याम् तद्वै धनुस्तैषवः सरथो हयास्ते सोऽहं रथी नृपतयो यथा नमन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूत् असदीशरिक्तम् भस्मन् हुतं कुहकराद्धम् इवोक्तमुष्याम् तद्वै धनुस्तैषवः सरथो हयास्ते सोऽहं रथी नृपतयो यथा नमन्ति क्षणेन तदभूत् सदीशरिक्तम् कुहकराद्धमिवोक्तमुष्याम् The same. Why? Certainly. Dhanu, the same bow. Saratha, arrows, the very same. Rathaha, chariot. Hayaste, the very same horses. Sahaham, I am the same Arjuna. Rathi, the chariot fighter. Nripatayaha, all the kings. Yataha, whom Anamanti offered their respects. Sarvam, all. Kshanena, at a moment's notice. Tad, all those. Abhut, became. Asat, useless. Isha, because of the Lord. Riktam, being void. Bhasman, ashes. Hutam, offering butter. Kuhakaradham, money created by magical feats. Iva, like that. Uttam, sown. Ushyam, in barren land. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on the barren land. As we have discussed more than once, one should not be puffed up by borrowed plumes. All energies and powers are derived from the Supreme Source, Lord Krishna, and they act as long as he desires and cease to function as soon as he withdraws. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. Material civilization without the blessing of the Lord is a child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it's all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all the activities thereof must be dovetailed with the supreme blessing of the Lord. And without this blessing, all advancement of human civilization is like a decoration on a dead body. It is said here that a dead civilization and its activities are something like a clarified butter on ashes, accumulation of money by a magic wand, and the sowing of seeds in a barren land. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्वसे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. With the blessings of the Lordships, all the Acharyas, Prabhupada and assembled devotees and my superiors, I would like to as what Kaustav was asking, I would like to just share whatever I've heard and whatever I've read or whatever is my understanding. So I would like to seek all blessings so that it will be inspiring to all of us in our path of bhakti. And also today is very auspicious day of Ekadashi. So to the extent if we can meditate how the core path of bhakti, if we are able to focus on that, especially on today's, it will help us also on chanting. So at the end, maybe if time permits, I will just share. Otherwise, we will discuss on this verse because this verse is very important. So we'll just share. So I had I think almost a year back or 1 or 2, 3 years before, I had seen one of the posts of I had received. So one of the posts by one of the famous celebrity in the Western world. His name is Arnold. So you all may know. So he's famous for his bodily strength and the kind of actions that he would do. And so because of that, he was one of the California legislative leader, they wanted to build one lodge. So there when they were building, they wanted to somehow make it a little famous, and they wanted to attract so many people to come. And that time they built one bronze statue of him, and where he was showing his bodily biceps and everything. At that time, and they asked him only to come and inaugurate the lodge. At that moment, so they also told him, they promised him that whenever you come to our lodge, we'll have a place reserved for you. And after many years, he went, and he happened to pass by. And when he was passing by, he went to this lodge to stay overnight. And when he went, they said this was his experience. They said that, actually, sir, we don't have a room now. So we and it was such a casual reception that he received. He was feeling that they called me so much, and they kept my statue, and they utilized whatever I had at that time. And this, by now, he is not that famous, and neither his body strength is there. And now he did not have a place to stay, and it was dead of the night. So what he did, he just took one of the covers, and in front of the statue he put that cover, and he slept, and he took his selfie and he posted. And now he spoke something which was very striking. That's why I just wanted to share. He was saying, all that I had, the fame or the success or the strength, now that is no more with me. When that was there, everyone would respect and everyone would give attention. But now when I don't have it, I'm actually of no use. So this was his realization, which he just said. So in the same way, that actually he was able to realize that whatever the power or the success, whatever he had achieved, that was actually a given, and it is there for some part of time in our life. But if one identifies that as the main success or the main aspect of his own life, and he identifies very strongly with it, at any moment it can be taken away. So, but if his whole life is only centered on that, then he will be the most miserable person. So, but very few people can realize it. That's why it is said also that those who are very famous or those who are very successful, they usually wanted to be at the top of everyone. But when they achieve that status, they realize to themselves that they are actually very lonely. And because they usually, when they want to achieve that apex place in a pyramid, the place of apex is actually there is a single point. So that means when one wants to achieve that place, he is actually alone there. There is nobody else. So that kind of position is, so that's what usually these successful people, they'll realize that nobody is there. So now this Bill Gates also, many times he would say that actually I have nobody friends. So like that, so he would he would disguise himself and go to search for some friends. So in that sense, but it is not of course, in today's context of Arjuna, that is not the case. But one thing I just wanted to mention in this regard is, but these are things they are not permanent in our life. So they come and they go. But if we have a real focus in our life, then we will be a little more, we'll be able to relish our own life, and at the same time, we will be able to really focus on what is the purpose of our life. So in this case, so I was just reading Prabhupada's lecture also in this connection. Prabhupada was speaking very amazingly on in this connection. He was speaking that the modern civilization is also actually just focusing on building skyscraper buildings and advancing scientifically, technologically. But all these things, they will not be there for a long time. They'll all get finished. So, Prabhupada is saying, just like there is now America is actually declaring a war. This was during those times. So when it declares a war and it says that they have nuclear bombs, atom bombs, and they can at any time, if they just put in one of the country, they can actually destroy it entirely. And if first America puts, then the entire Russia will get spoiled, and if Russia puts, the entire America will be spoiled. So then Prabhupada said, then ultimately nobody will be there. So the entire civilization is going to get finished. So then Prabhupada is saying that this Ravana was also like the same. He had all the knowledge of Vedic scriptures. He was a scholar, and he had taken birth in a Brahmin family. And not only that, he had so much of power because of which he could build the entire city of Lanka with gold. And but with all that, he was ultimately dead. He was finished. The reason being, Prabhupada says, he did not have Lord Ram in his life. So because he did not have Lord Ram, or he was against Lord Ram, so because of which whatever he had, everything was finished at the time of, everything was taken away from him. So Prabhupada was quoting very amazing verse. So he was saying, this is from Hari Bhakti Shuddhodai, Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastram Japastapah Apranasyeha Dehasya Mandanam Lokaranjanam. So in Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya, if one doesn't have bhakti, but one may have jati, that means one might have taken birth in a very high family. And then Shastram, that means, and one has a knowledge of the revealed scriptures. That also is there with him. And Japa Tapa, one may know so many mantras to recite. Of course, this Japa is not referring to Hare Krishna Mahamantra Japa. This is all any Karmakandiya mantras where one may know, and to obtain something's material. And tapasya, one may do lot of tapasya like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. But if it is without bhakti to Lord, what is that compared to apranasya eva dehasya? That is eva, I think. Apranasya eva dehasya. Yeah. So it is just like a person, the body without a life. If the body is there without life, then what is the use? But and that body is being decorated. Mandanam. And for what? Is to attract the public. So just like Prabhu was saying, especially in India, sometimes the lower class of people like Shudras, they decorate the dead body just before it is being sent to crematorium. And at that time, they put the very nice dress, and they put sometimes ornaments. And then to show in front of everyone, they do puja and then they take the body. But what is the use if a corpse is being decorated? Ultimately, that is going to go into the earth. So similarly, this in this material world, everything is going to be temporary. So throughout life, if we are just focusing on increasing our material life in a way that it is with a distraction from spiritual life, then all that is going to be of useless. So once Prabhupada had brought many of the disciples from Western world to India, and that time Prabhupada was this was just the place where Prabhupada was boarding the Jaladuta. At that time, Prabhupada was making a statement: "What is the use if jackals glorify you?" Prabhupada was just telling to, I think, Govinda Dasi. So, because if jackals glorify, what is the use? Because in this material world, people are wanting some glorification from the people. Those are foolish, those are ignorant, and if we are being glorified by them, because people want to achieve the name and fame from the mass of people, or people want to get Nobel Prize. But all that Nobel Prize, Prabhupada would say that no, those are receiving. It is like a community of dogs, and they're all barking. And so, if from these people we receive Nobel Prize, what is the big gain? Because because usually we see that at one point of time they glorify, and the same if it is being rejected or that theory is defeated, the same people they bring us down also. So in that sense, there is no use in just achieving anything of this material. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. This is all for Loka Ranjanam. It is of no use. But instead, if one can focus one's endeavors, and if one can focus one's efforts in the direction of bhakti, then it will be of much better use. So that's what Prabhupada is actually trying to say in that lecture. So I'll just share some things what I heard from previous So in this context where Arjuna is speaking, he is actually feeling a great emotional surge, where he is feeling that Krishna has left me and gone, and without him, how can I live? So with that, he's feeling utterly devastated, and he's coming and expressing in front of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And now he's recollecting everything that has happened in the past, and he's expressing how he had in the verses much before. He is saying, I had actually, so he says in the fifth verse, sixth verse and all, he says, I had so much of Deva Vismapahan Mahat. He is saying, I had so much of Teja in mind, and because of which I could actually even make even the demigods and everyone else, I could make them astonished by the kind of powers that I had. And also, now I have lost all those powers. So he's actually speaking in these lines. So now we may get a question that whether Arjuna is actually after Krishna or whether he is actually after the powers which he had. Because if you see in the later verses also, I vanquished those lusty princes and who were there, who were wanting the hand of Draupadi. And then like this he says so many instances. I could even astonish Lord Shiva. I killed some of the greatest of the Asuras, and I could defeat all the Kauravas, but I have lost now that power. So when he's saying all this, now we may get a question whether he's actually after the power or whether he's actually after Krishna. So, though apparently he is recounting all these incidences, that is only to signify that he's actually giving the credit for every instance that he had success in his life. He's actually giving the credit of everything to Krishna. He's not actually, he's able to see the behind the success, he's able to see the cause behind his success. He is not saying that he was the only person because of him he could achieve that success. And now he is actually feeling that distress due to Krishna's departure. So therefore, one thing we can try to see or understand is the skills, whatever we may have, that skills actually are not required if you want to go back to Godhead. Actually, what does it take for us to go back to Godhead is not the skills, but actually the kind of devotional attitude that we may carry, and the kind of service mentality that we are having. If that mentality is there, then Krishna may give sometimes some facilities and some resources and some skills. And with the kind of mentality that we have, or the service attitude we have, with that we can utilize all the facilities or the resources. And ultimately, when the facilities are being taken away, still we have our own order, the devotional attitude that we may have, and still we may have all the desire for service. So in that sense, it is not only the skills, or it is not only the, because many times if you see, skills are not the reason for a devotee to become success in life. If you see, even I was just hearing what is the cause of success of Srila Prabhupada. If you see, there have been if you see the kind of the success of Srila Prabhupada, and in comparison to so many other people in a materialistic realm, there have been many other people who have achieved, who have written many other books, like the way Prabhupada has written. Or there have been many other people also who have done in their old age or in their invalid stage, where they have done some miraculous material achievement. We see also, we have heard also, once I had been hearing, there was one fellow who was just bedridden, and he did not even have proper sensory, he was unable to communicate, but just his fingers, he would type something. Based on that intelligence, they built a bridge. So that means we can see, what is the name? Stephen Hawking. Yes. Yeah. So he was a civil engineer who built that entire bridge. Now, if you see, Prabhupada is in old age, but he was not invalid like the way he was bedridden. So the real glory of Prabhupada is not just any of these. Of course, we can attribute Prabhupada's success to all this, but his real glory is he surrendered everything for the sake of spreading. He was completely selfless, and at the same time he wanted to do the mission for pleasing his Guru Maharaj. So in that sense, the real glory comes there. And then Krishna arranges so many events in the life just so that Prabhupada could be glorified. So in that sense, a real success is not just having so many. So that's why it is said, for a devotee to become successful, it is not the skills, but because of his devotional temperament. That's what actually makes him great devotee, like that. And then another I was just reading. This was in connection to because the devotee takes the shelter of the Supreme Lord, then the devotee can achieve also. And because he is taking shelter of the Supreme Lord can do anything. So that's why it is said that the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was quoting this verse. He was saying, Ishvara Jagannatha Yarahate Sarva Artha Kartum Akartum Anyatha Karite Samartha. He is saying, Ishvara Jagannatha, that Supreme Lord, Ishvara, in his hands, Sarva Artha, he has all the potencies in his hands. Because he is the one who is the master of all the potencies. So, but in this world, when we are blinded by the external things, we just see the potency. We do not see the person behind the potency. The Shaktiman we do not see. We just see the potency. And that's why people are so mad after only the potency. They are not after the potent. But a devotee can actually see who is the person behind the potency. So that's why the devotee is actually after the worshipping the Supreme Lord and actually doing his bhajan. So in that sense, they can actually see that this Jagannath, actually he is the real Ishvara. And in his hands everything is there. Kartum akartum anyatha karite samartha. And what can the Lord do? Lord can actually do a kartum. Kartum means he can do many things. Whatever things that we are unable to do, Lord can do it. And akartum, whatever we cannot undo, that also Lord can do. He can do the undo things. So, and anyatha karite samartha. Samartha means he is capable of doing something else, what we are not even imagined in our life. He can, so when I was just quoting Adivavan was sharing, he was quoting the verse, Mukam karoti vachalam. He was saying that Mukam, that means one who is a dumb person, he can actually speak. Actually, not just speak, he can actually become a great either reciter or he can become a perfect orator. Though he's a dumb, he can go on the other part of the extreme. And Pangum Langhayate Girim. So that means one who is a lame person, he can actually not just walk up the mountain, he can actually jump over the mountain and go on the other side. Langhayate Girim. Like this. So in that sense, Lord can do so many miraculous things only if we can take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So this focus, if we can have in our life, then actually we will be able to. So if you see example of even Priyavrat Maharaj, so it is said that he could actually become like another sun. So, and the sun was actually rotating across one universe, the entire this Bhumandala. But actually, Priyavrat Maharaj, actually just because he took shelter of the Lord, he could actually become like another sun. So that's what is mentioned. So in that sense, so that's why if we can actually keep that focus in our life, then actually we'll be on a much. So I think once our Gaurang Darshan Prabhu was sharing in one of the, I think Bhaktivedanta Vidyapitam classes. I'm not sure, somebody would have shared, I think, but I'll just still share that once all the so who is like the man of the match of Kurukshetra battle? So the question came because they wanted to actually give or they wanted to make someone stand out. At that time, all the Pandavas, of course, this was just a Pandavas are also, we know that they're all surrendered souls and they're all also actually very humble. But of course, as a pastime, they were sharing that so many expertises which they had and which they exhibited during the battlefield. And Krishna also wanted to just bring a twist in this. So at that time, he took all the Pandavas and he all took them to the son of Ghatotkach, and his name was Barbari. So when they all took him to Barbari, then this Barbari was saying what was his vision when he was looking in the Kurukshetra battle. He was saying that Krishna is the one who is actually fighting on this side of the battle, and also that's the other side of the battle. He is the one who is actually killing the enemies on one side, and is also actually annihilating some of the soldiers from Pandava's side. So he is the one who is actually fighting on both the sides. So when Barbari started speaking like this, all the Pandavas are realizing actually Krishna is the one who actually made this entire battle, and he is the one who actually favored even the Pandavas. So a true devotee is one who actually is honest about, like yesterday also Radhika Lapura was sharing, humility is actually honesty. The true devotee is actually honest about whom to give credit, because a devotee actually can realize in his life that credit actually doesn't belong to me. So in that sense, when he gives that credit, he actually becomes very glorious also. And Lord also in turn, he is so humble that he doesn't want to take the glory. and he wants to give it to his devotees. So like that, so that is the context which I was just sharing. I was just remembering, and there are so many other things which I at least I was just thinking. So, but without the glory of the Lord, so here 3 examples that are given. That is Kuhakaradham. That means winning money or accumulating money by some magical feat. So if at all we can get some money from some people who do some magic, that means they have given also the money by some magic. That money also they can take away by magic. So what is the permanency of that money? If at all they can actually create that money, then why should they work? Why should they do all these circus shows or magical shows? So in that sense, that is simply illusory. And then putting ghee on the ashes. So that will not actually is not going to bring any sacrifice or ahuti. And the last one is bearing the seeds in a barren earth. So that also has no relevance actually. So it will not give any real tree or plant. So like that. So similarly, if at all we are just after not after real Krishna consciousness or not after practicing bhakti sincerely, then all these things actually will not bring any real value to our own life. So that's what Arjuna is also, we can learn in this connection from Arjuna. So that's what is my understanding. So you can please share something. Other devotees also can please share. This one, huh? Actually, very amazing question, which and very practical question which Prabhu is asking. So usually in this material world, because we are identifying ourselves with the body, and we also identify ourselves with our own talents and skills, and so because of and our strengths also. So then when we identify, usually it becomes little difficult to realize that strength is actually coming from Krishna. So but I also another instance, suppose if we do not utilize our strengths, then also it becomes very difficult in our life to even be ourselves peaceful and stable, because we have that kind of temperament, so that requires that kind of opportunity or event where we are able to utilize our strengths. So that's what actually gives satisfaction. So in that sense, utilizing the strengths or utilizing the skills is not considered to be something against. But what is most important is when we are utilizing the credit when it comes, if we can give it to the Lord. So that is what actually is. And if we can give it to Lord and our superiors, and if we can give it to, also if we can little widen our spectrum of vision, and if we can see that who all have contributed in our life, so that opportunity that was given, and also that also those who have helped in our life, if we can give that real credit to them, that actually is much better. So, and also another thing which I feel very important is the real relationship, if we can keep, because Albert Einstein, he makes one amazing statement. He says, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So he says that means not everything that can be counted counts. Means we can count so many assets that we have, number of cars that we have, or bank balance we can count, but actually it doesn't count much in life, because those have already achieved, they are actually feeling great dissatisfaction. And the real thing that which cannot be counted actually counts in our life, like the kind of especially the real value of Krishna consciousness, and also the kind of relationships. So then and also if we can have some devotees in our life who can actually when we also achieve the platform of success, suppose somebody can be there who can ground us to practical reality, then actually I feel it will help us. And also they can give a little more some other part of the vision, because when we have success, we can see in only one direction, but suppose somebody can be there who can give other angle of the vision, then this is my understanding. I'm not sure whether it did it right exactly answer. Prabhuji, if you can add. If other devotees want to add also. So we'll end it here. So it's Ekadashi. So I think all devotees we can chant more today and chant more number of rounds. So we'll end it here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.